So we have group 5. We'll be taking you to third Longway. So you can see after Kimani fights the MP, he's jailed for 6 months. And then the university follows suit by demoting him from a full professor to a senior lecturer. So we see this man, Third Longway, visiting him in his place when he was in depression. So he's a white man, 50 plus years. He has a deep voice and green eyes. So he's a director of projects at Agency for Governance and Development in Africa. So he's based in Cape Town, and although he has a British accent, he assures Kimani that he's an African from South Africa. So he reveals that after reading Kimani's books, he feels this man can help him bring change to Africa by pointing towards a better future and moving towards it. So he tries to convince Kimani to join this AGDA so that they can bring change to Africa. So he wants to see an end to diseases, corruption, impunity, and ignorance. Yes? Welcome for to take us where we're meeting next. Is where we meet Third Longway. He's traveling from Washington to Nigeria and meets Dr. Folabi. Dr. Folabi is in the flight with Third Longway. So Third Longway is described as a cranky passenger since he seems to be in the same economy class as the Folabi. His voice is deep, lingered on like the boom of a big drum. Longway convinced Dr. Folabi on the book Padalpha because Folabi was advocating for both Wayamega and Padalpha. Folabi tells Longway that he will be going to the summit to advise 50 heads of state not to participate in it and not to mentor the 4 travelers from AGDA. So, Third Longway tells Folabi that Omega is recommending for adoption and Padalpha is proposing as an alternative.
Longway did not just find himself in the economy class. He had schemed. He had been even in that keynote address that had happened where Abiola had been the previous day. You can see him arguing and sharing about the guy who is known as the guy from the grassroots international. Of course, they are referring to him as who? They have referred to him, there was a specific name because he is the fire eater. The fire eater, a metaphor to mean that he was an individual who was controversial but out to share his views. So you should have found out that Third was scheming, and he used a procedure to establish how he could get at Abiola. You know what kind of person Abiola is in the text. He's not easily approached. You can see from the first part where he met Fiona. So here, he realizes that the only way is to switch the positions. Let Pamela go to the first class, and then he sits with the Abiola. Then when they sit, he does not just start talking. He's very scheming again of calculation. He in the guy from the Grassroots International, the fire eater. Then he now says, I like how he was arguing. Wasn't he saying the truth? Then he brings in now part alpha after explaining what it is. And remember, it is important you understand the difference between way omega and part alpha, which is explained here. That part alpha is that which is seeking law of will, to make people willingly do things in a different way. Way omega is only there to tell them not to do some things, and yet the presidents have been tyrants. So there's no way they are going to accept these changes if you force them on them. But part alpha, on the other hand, is going to make them go through it swiftly and have the willingness to accept that change. And the change, of course, is away from aspects of corruption. We have aspects of what? Because they are mentioned there. They are going to avoid corruption, impunity, plus those other ills that have been happening since independence. So remember, this part was tested last year. That is why I'm emphasizing on it a lot. And you need to understand about that. How TAG is very scheming and also uses philosophy to argue out the points of that he met of Olabi, because you told us that Olabi was not going to defend part alpha. Now, what does what does Longway want from Olabi? After the arrest, is he supposed to join? Just ask. What is he supposed to do? Yeah?
Advice.
No, that is a role that has been engaged by the president. What about by Longway? What does Longway want you to do? There's someone here with an answer, Vivian. Loud enough. To guide the part alpha travelers, and as well sneak in part alpha to the agenda of the summit. Remember, it was not part of the summit, was it? No, the only thing they were going to talk about was way omega. So now here he is supposed now to see how he will sneak in part alpha to the agenda of the summit. And he's advising him that don't quit, but I'm not told you to quit way omega, but just read the two and give me the response. So let's go on. The next part we find here.
Page 85. We can see that Longway meets with Melusi at Chaminuka restaurant in downtown Harare. Here we see from Melusi. He tells the visitor how they defended the Smith and how Zimbabwe got their independence. We can see that Comrade Melusi shares with Tad Longway how they
what his role is within that meeting at the first restaurant and then the second. Founder and
Tad Longway shares that is the director of the special projects in AGDA. At page 99 you can see that Tad Longway shares the document titled Part Alpha and convinces Comrade to join if he is interested. And you can see that Comrade Melusi agrees.
now remember that you have to also show that that uses emotional aspects. Like remember, Zimbabwe is very low that time economically. What does he do to ensure that Melusi is free with him? He is relaxed and sharing his story. Yeah, there's someone who so he offers him lunch and he's also listening emotionally, There are these people who listen and they are showing that empathy. And also the next day, what does he do apart from just buying lunch? On page 98, what does he do before they start? He has such a thick stack of cash that would, enhance his peace. Remember, he had lost a lot. Yeah? The next part.
On page 86, there is a vision of an operation where Comrade Melusi looked around the restaurant and
We should be on page 116. Tell us next when we get there.
16 said you see after Chiamaka was arrested for was jailed for 2 weeks and was banned from preaching. 2 years later, we see that a deep voice called him, and the deep voice had a good news for a change. That good news was about Africa, was to approach to Africa's development. And Padre Alpha had the idea of mobilizing discontent with Africa in its present state, with will to change it. So we see that Pastor Chiamaka responded and agreed to join Padre Alpha and signed on.
so we see that after Saif Tahir had gone to Benghazi, he meets Tad Longway at a cafe. You can see that Tad Longway convinces Saif Tahir to join Padre Alpha, and Engineer Tahir enlisted in the